Hi. Okay, I have got a huge load of stuff to talk about. And what I will do is I'll keep those cars for near the end so that if you're not that much into cars, you don't need to listen, but some of the other bits will be interesting. And I'm going to get to the B1. So let's get stuck in. Now, before I forget, actually, the one thing that I was going to say about my model building, which I tend to do, even though I don't really think that I'm doing it, is I will look at a model, de-sprue it, maybe even start working a little bit on it, and then just leave it aside. Sort of like this one, which I did during the year, this 172nd U2. Although the reason for setting this one aside at the time was because of that wing breakage, which I can't see the crack right now, so it appears to have been fixed up reasonably well. But I got a little bit put off because of the lack of perfect wings, which is just me being a little bit over perfectionistic in that respect. Because if I look at it now, it's not too bad. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. This top one is wavy. The bottom one, sorry, no, that's a very thin edge. That one is sort of acceptable. This one is yeah, you see that waviness? There's like a bow over there. That sort of put me off, and I'd sort of had been hoping that this U2 would really be a perfect model. But anyway, I must just set that slightly aside, accept what's happened to the wings, and continue to build it as if it's a perfect model. Now, the problem here is that you can get away with bend warping in some cases, but this is right at the joint of the solid piece of the wing versus the two parts wing. So the bottom surface glues on right there, and that's a bit of a delicate job to actually do that without messing up this wing. So obviously this thicker part here does not like to be warped very well. Plus I think this was a bit of a brittle plastic, I can't remember. Anyway, I am going to get back to this. This one will be done before the 148th. But what I was saying is that I like to work on a model a little bit just to get familiarity and to see what the potential is of the model, what I'm feeling about the model, the parts layout, and that sort of thing. And I tend to do that with a lot of my models. Work on it a little bit, look at it a little bit, and then set it aside. And it's sort of subconsciously in my mind's going over it. And sometimes that ends up being, for many, many years, like one of these Porsches. Start work on it and then just set it aside. Anyway, let's not waste time too much on that. So this is the BR52 locomotive. Was that Revell or Italeri? I can't remember now. So I got it with someone had painted the red by hand, and it's not too bad. It's sort of lens. I mean, it's not as good as spray painting. So you can see all that unevenness there in the finish, but it sort of lends towards the scale effect of a locomotive. If it was all too even, it would make the locomotive look a little bit smaller than it is, because with all of this brush detail, it sort of makes it look like there's a whole lot of, how can I say, the creation of those parts on such a large scale inevitably has little oddities about it, if that makes sense. Same with the wheels. If you sort of if that looked perfect, it would look like a smaller casting than if it has got these little imperfections, which sort of looks like a large casting of metal. Now this one again I have set aside numerous times, not because it's a difficult model, not at all. In fact, it's so close to being done. More because I'm still a little bit stuck on what to do to move from plastic black to some form of sprayed finish that looks somewhat weathered, still essentially black. Maybe a little bit of dry brushing would be the trick. And we do have, of course, all of those parts. I don't even know the names of all of these things. The various push rods. So I think it'll be a very nice model, and that'll be coming up soon, the completion of that. But I don't quite have that mental picture of where I'm headed to. So yes, I have to spray this whole thing now. I guess in a satin black. And I guess do dry brushing and then just sort of see what it looks like. Maybe a bit of dirtying, rust marks. And that's all that I can think of at this stage with that one. BR50. Not BR52. Very, very similar. I'm going to talk about the B1 after I've made a bit of space here. So, okay, let's get this one out the way, even though it is also a car. I got this one just very recently. Cheaper price, not because I like the car, but because it was already started and going for a cheap price, and I don't really buy Revell cars. So it was more an exercise in getting to know a little bit of what they produce. And this has brought up a little bit of an issue, because I thought Revell Germany, because this is Revell Germany, was very good. Some of their airliners and other models are very good, but this is not, and it'll be a bit difficult to actually show you all. Now, without analyzing the parts for yourselves, you may not be able to, compare it to a Tamiya. It's okay. And I looked on ScaleMates. This has not been produced by anyone else before. It's like a 2007 Revell kit. But to me, the quality is not great at all. But what I do want to show you is that mismolding of the tire. Now, this tire quality is vastly inferior to Tamiya. I put it onto the rim just to try and sort of settle them a bit better. They were badly misshapen in the box from being squashed together. Even when the tires had pressed against each other, there were sort of recess marks, which I can't see right now. There. You see those two recess marks, a little bit small to see on the video, but definitely inferior. Now, I'm lucky in that could be pushed to the back, so I can still build the car and that damage on the tire won't show. I guess it's possible that this is not only a molding fault and that the previous owner somehow damaged that. Don't know. Anyway, it's sort of a different car shape, and I'll build it and we'll see. You see that look on the decals, that brown mark indication that this decal sheet has had damp. It's on the back. You see all the little brown spots. Luckily, that's not that important to me. I'm not very concerned with getting these decals onto the car. Anyway, that's just a bit of a thought. I don't know why. I was expecting quite a bit better quality. Maybe it's just I shouldn't be thinking that Revell actually has that quality. So on the Scout, I've now done the lower trim lines yesterday. That came out pretty well. I was happy about that. And the key there was to have 1mm pinstripe masking tape for in between those two lines. And I think I'm going to buy myself more. I think there's a 0.75mm and so on. Anyway, okay, so the interior, I think the engine bay is quite okay just being that color. I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that. Looking through the windows, which I didn't bring them out now, I have dirtied them. One of the readers agreed with me, one of the viewers agreed with me that having the windows absolutely crystal clear is not great. Now, I may have overdone that. We'll see. I'll show you when that's in, and we can decide whether it's worth cleaning slightly. I did just a light spray on the inside, so it's quite easy to reduce the amount of spray. And I think a little bit of dirtying there, but not too much. So this one is coming on, and now previously I had said that I'd like to do a bit more on the inside there, but I'm looking at it when it's already together like that, it sort of doesn't draw your attention, and that's sort of what I wanted. So despite it looking bad here, it sort of achieves the purpose when it's together. So I may not actually do anything. I am very happy with this though. The engine has come out very, very well. Actually exceeding my expectations. And I'm very happy with that red that I used sort of by accident, because it was I just grabbed this because I had extra red left in the airbrush. Now that is the same red, believe it or not. It's just that it's sprayed on black plastic. This is sprayed on yellow. Actually, no, was this yellow? That was yellow. Maybe I sprayed that black first. I can't even remember what I did, but I think I sprayed this whole thing black first. That one I didn't. Don't think I did. Anyway, without the weathering, this has had a little bit of a black wash on it. So that fuel tank does need a little bit of dulling down. The chrome parts, the tappet covers and the fan, is my re-chroming, which is, as I did say, much less shiny than the original kit chrome. So that's virtually done, and I'm quite happy with that. I will take some photos and put that onto the Facebook page. Oh, I did. I mentioned to you that I was going to try and find out a bit of information on this orange peel effect. And I've watched a couple of videos, and there isn't just one reason for getting that. There's a couple of ways that this can happen. And I got it again just in these past couple of days. One of the reasons is paint a little bit too thick, such that by the time it's drying on there, it's not evening out and pulling flat. Even though when you look at it in the airbrush and spraying it on the first coat, it's like the first coat will go on really well, and by the time you come around again, it's going to start creating orange peel. So it's a little bit of a delicate balance. So that can happen when you're doing the same color on your first spraying, or if you had done a coat previously and then were coming on a second coat over that. Paint a bit too thick, or spraying over a imperfect previous coat, which sort of enhances all of the imperfections. Now I was getting that, I started getting that on the clear coat for this. So I just painted this yesterday. This is the GT2. So I've been showing you the GT1 and I've now sprayed this GT2 and it's heading towards complete, looking very, very nice, and it's got holochromatic chrome on it. I was looking through my bottles and I realized I had this one as well, and I decided to try it and it came out really, really well. So even though I hadn't been planning on a silver Porsche, now I have this. Now that holochromatic chrome is as easy to spray as the other chrome, but touching it afterwards, you see that corner there, that lower corner, I rubbed some of it off. It is very, very delicate. It's not a robust. It needs a covering, and I sprayed this then with the floor wax, and that was a little bit touch and go. It was borderline looking like failure, and I managed to get that done. So very nice and shiny. As I was spraying the one door compared to the other door, I was seeing orange peel, and you can only just make it out. Luckily this floor wax reduces in effect as it dries. So what you see at the time is worse than once you've let it dry. So very, very nice effect depending on the light as you look at it, and a few parts left to go on. Now I have glued the front windscreen on. I've glued one onto this main panel. I glued these side pieces on, so they're reasonably okay. On the back one, weirdly, I got too carried away in thinking that everything fits beautifully on a Tamiya kit, and the rear window has a step here now because it doesn't actually slot in far enough. This window should have been able to go a little bit higher, so it's flush there, not quite flush on the sides, and not flush there because the roof plastic thickness is too thick compared to the step which has been allowed in the window. It is what it is, nothing I can do about that, and you wouldn't know it if I didn't point it out. So yep, fast build. I did a fast build, almost finished, lights and clear parts to go on. So very, very happy with that. A successful spray, but at the same time I sprayed all the clear parts, the clear red and the clear orange for indicators and brake lights on a number of the Porsches. I lined up a whole bunch of things to spray at the same time, and I think I can say that my biggest failing in modeling at this point is my inability to deal with the clear red and the clear orange. We are talking about many, many, many soft sprayings of a very thin coat so that it doesn't run, it doesn't sort of get blasted away, because it's not fast drying, to the point where I sort of gave up initially during the spraying and went and hand brushed onto those parts so that I got a thick bit of red for the brake lights and so on. But I couldn't do it for that very large section that slots into here, a very long red tail light. So half of the red parts are okay. The orange, I sort of managed to get it to work, but a few of the red parts are not good. And I will bring some of them out. I want to leave them to really dry, and I'll talk about that. So yeah, I need to learn more about those clears. I get away with it and I manage success on a number of things, and then something like yesterday's spraying just isn't achieving what should be a reasonable result. So headlights, tail light, door handles, and that one will be complete. So that will be the GT1 nearing completion, the GT2 nearing completion, the Scout, which I'm not rushing, but it's progressing very nicely, and I am actually quite happy that I chose to do a pretty good build out of that. Okay, these I'm going to cover fairly fast because there's not a whole lot that I want to say about this at the moment, other than that this one is on the go, which is that Martini Porsche 935. I did decide to completely spray the interior satin black. I mixed it well and it worked. I didn't mask, so I have this overspray. You see this faint overspray? And I knew I was going to get that, so that wasn't a surprise. And the overspray is not dense or thick. It's pretty easy to get off, but I'll take my time just getting that off. And I'll speak about that in a separate video. So I'm totally happy with what's happening there. We have got the GT3, which I have decided will be green. So I'll probably paint green straight over the yellow. Now, with most of these car models, and this will extend to motorbikes, essentially what I've learned with a lot of what I've been doing in 2024 and heading into 2025 is try not to build up the paint layers. You've got the most perfect flat and smooth body. After one spraying, that's about as good as you're going to get. If you need to do two because of the nature of the colors that you're doing, okay, but the less the better. The more you can achieve a perfect result early on, the better off you are. So anyway, these are on. This is the GT3, unlike the GT3 RS kit, which as I said I will speak about. This is again a pretty fast and easy build. Slight difference in that this lower piece is silver as opposed to black, and I think I might actually just leave it silver because there's no real need to have all of the cars with a black underside. I'll decide if certain elements or exactly how I want to handle that, because that engine looks like it could do with some nice wash to bring out all of the details. So there is a bit of work, but not a ridiculous amount. The Porsche 959 is the one that I'd set aside long ago. And finally it's time to get this one going. Now this whole kit is molded in this color. It's not a very difficult kit, and I might do that one in a bronze. It's not a very exciting look like that. I'm thinking just a bronze. What I am struggling with on these kits is the gluing of clear parts. Some of the difference between doing this on aircraft, motorbikes and cars is the car is going to get touched a little bit more in its handling, and with the pressure on the windows, I mean you obviously try not to do that, but I really don't want windows popping off because they were only glued on with crystal clear, or, you know, something without that amount of hold, and the windows don't have a ton of contact area. It's not so that you're necessarily going to put it all around the entire frame. So I am interested to hear some of the thoughts. At the moment, my preferred method is glue, which involves putting a bit of glue on, not onto the clear part, onto the body, the interior of the body where it's not going to be visible. Letting it become tacky enough to just fit that window on, and it adheres with probably more force than the crystal clear. But give me your thoughts, because really I'm not experienced with that. And the same for the headlight covers, the clear part covers, which really don't have a lot of contact area. The advantage there is any pressure is pushing them onto the thing that they're holding on, whereas in some cases the windscreens can be popped out. I mean, the obvious answer to that is, yep, just don't touch the windscreens, front windscreen, rear windscreen, side windows. So once they're on, really don't handle the car at all. But I'm not keen on models where you accidentally touch something and it falls off. Okay, let's get to the B1, which I have decided will be one of those earlier builds this year. And the reason for that, like I have said, is that there's certain aircraft that I have I've been meaning to build, and for some reason I've put it off for just way too long. Never built a U2, never built a B1. I did show you this the other day. I'm going to attempt to do a fastish build, but a nice build. I do want it to be a very well built build where I am ensuring that all joints and everything is as good as it could be. No warping, no hassles. Now, I said undercarriage up, but what I will say is they are very nice undercarriage legs, a lot of detail, and even though this will be hanging from the ceiling, I'm sort of pondering now whether all of that detail will just add to it rather than the closed up build. I wouldn't say the undercarriage bays are very detailed. The warping which I was speaking about was very, very minimal. So I think we're okay on wings. Just make sure that they go okay. So it's really, it's a huge looking box, but really isn't a big deal. Probably the biggest challenge is the very large glue lines required, and we will talk about that. I have spoken about long glue lines and heavy duty aircraft in a video long ago, but we'll cover that when I get to that. So I'm gonna sit and get my mind around this. Not that it needs much. Okay, I probably you see that yellowing and on there, and I think I did mention that. So I do need to wash this whole aeroplane. The oil from the molds is definitely present, and that will affect spraying afterwards. So point number one, go and wash the whole model. I'll go and get a tub and let the whole thing lie in a soapy water for a while. But that'll be good. The B1 is a very good looking aircraft. Like I did say, very average decals. I did find my other B1. It's up on the rack. So I have got a second B1 to be done, and I think it would be nice to get this one done without too much delay. So the aeroplanes will start being worked on at the same time as these cars and the motorbikes. Till next time, happy modeling. Cheers.